Oh, hey, Relay. It's Lindsay here, joined with Mike Co. Mike, I should have had you do the intro. Why did I jump in here?
I think the listeners are all very used to having you started off. It's very reassuring that way. And so we always defer to you.
Yeah, but the yo, what's going on is so much more fun. Come
It
on,
is for
give it to
me.
us.
I don't know if it's fun for everyone else, but if that's what
No.
people want, maybe next time we'll start out that way.
Here's what I want to know. When you meet
Mhm.
people at races, does anybody walk up to you or does a percentage of people walk up to you and do the yo, what's going on?
Yeah, a lot of times. I get it
Yeah.
like if I see people running, like they'll yell at me,
Mm.
like from like across the way. And I mean, I'm used to it now. And so like I've trained myself to be like, "Oh, yo, what's going on?" When I like almost kind of like, "Oop, excuse me," like if you get bumped, it's
Uh-huh.
just now it's a reaction. But at the beginning, I was like, "Oh, hey, how's it going, guys?" I mean, wait, yo, what's going on? I mean,
They want
so
it.
it took me a little bit of time to get there, but I got
It
there.
makes me wish I had a signature like hello or a signature goodbye, which I do not. I mean, I say the same thing
You
at the
do though,
intro.
because you have like the hey relay friends, and I feel like the friends thing
Oh,
is
friends.
a lot of
Okay.
people say friends, but when I
Okay.
hear someone say it, like Peter does it now too, and I'm like,
Mm.
he's been spending a lot of time with Lindsay. So I feel like so that to me, the
Okay.
friends
The
thing
friends.
is a Lindsay
Gotcha.
thing,
Okay.
So it's like, yeah. So I hear it on your I'll have another hey
Yeah.
friends, and then
Hey,
I hear it
friends.
on Relay podcast. So
Okay.
yeah.
All right. All right. I'll take that one. And I use the term friend somewhat loosely too in general. Like if we've hung out and had coffee once, I'm like, we are friends. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So,
I mean, when you're an adult, you gotta like you have to put that out there.
yeah.
You have to
Oh,
let
yeah.
people know that like I'm willing to make this a friendship. We may have only
Oh.
talked once, but I'm willing to be there. You know.
Yeah. No,
So.
yes, for sure. Yeah, I like that. It's inviting.
Mhm.
How are we feeling? You are a couple weeks out from running the Valencia Marathon.
Yeah, I'm feeling like knock on wood, I'm feeling good. I've had some of my highest mileage weeks in years. And the body's responding to it. Like I'm running a lot of miles, and I'm always worried, like, well, I really wanted to like get a certain number of miles for this week, but that means I had to run 13 miles on Sunday, and then today I had a workout. That probably wasn't smart. That was
Ooh.
a lot of ego getting into that nice round
Uh-huh.
number.
Mhm.
But then today I had one morning, I had my workout, and I felt good. So I'm like, okay, so my body's handling mileage, so that's a good sign. Um, and really good sign because like the last couple races that I've done required a lot of summer training, and that
Mm.
was very frustrating for me because my body just will never seemingly acclimate to the heat, and so like I just never felt like I was getting in like the kind of work that I would normally feel like I can get when I'm training for a spring marathon. And so like this time, it's a December race, so I'm getting
Mm.
some more fall training in. So that's been a complete, game changer for me. Is that like, oh, okay, maybe I'm not that old anymore. So like, there's a lot. I mean, because it was like 2, 3 builds in a row where I was just like, nothing works. The things that
Uh,
normally work aren't working. And I don't know what's going on. I know it's hot, but it's not that hot. But now I'm like, oh, maybe it was that hot, at least for me. So I'm starting to think, okay, maybe I'm not as old as I thought I was.
it makes me wonder, like, why do we even put ourselves through summer marathon training? Like, what are we doing to our
Yeah.
bodies and our egos?
Yeah, I'm going to kind of try to avoid fall marathons from now on because I know it's not good for me.
It's not
Just,
fun.
yeah, I mean, there's other ways I can run and enjoy running and enjoy racing. But I'm going to try to avoid some of the fall marathons from now on, and focus more on stuff that if I'm going to do a marathon and I want to run it fast, like if I want to go and have a fun marathon,
Yeah, just have
that's fine.
fun.
But if I want to try and run it a little bit faster, then I'm probably going to reserve that to like either like winter or spring. Just because I'm learning a lot about myself, and maybe that's part of aging is that like I can no longer train during some of those other types of conditions, but something that maybe I'm closing myself off too much. But for now, I'm going to keep it to like the December to April kind of time frame.
what mileage did your ego get in the way that you had to run that 13 miles on Sunday?
I wanted to get to 90. And
Oh, that's a
so,
lot, Mike.
yeah, I was at 77. And so I was like, I do 13. That's a nice round number. And last week was
Like it?
81. But, and I was even talking to my daughter about it too, because I was like, is it that much better for me to run 90 versus 87 or
Mm.
86? It's still like 5% more than the 81, which was also one of my highest mileage weeks in a long time. And week before that was 77. Again, one of the high, not by much, but one of the highest mileage weeks I've had in a long time. So I'm like, this is a lot. Do I need to get to 90? I'd like to, and I did, but I'm like, that morning, I saw like the Clayton Young video where he's also training for Valencia, where he's like, I'm injured, guys.
Ooh.
And I was like, that's a pretty clear sign of
Yeah.
like, yeah. But I went for it with it anyway. I was like, whatever, we'll see. And I mean, so far, so good. But like I'm being very careful at this point. I'm like, we just got to land the plane now, and
Yes.
past peak week. Still a lot of work to do this week, but like let's not go crazy. Let's really make sure that we're taking care of any little thing that we can take care of.
So remind me what your PR is.
It's 256.
Are we going for that?
No, I don't think that I'm there.
Okay.
Some of the workouts that I'm doing, I think I'm going to see a lot of improvement over the next like week. And I've been seeing some improvement over the last 2 weeks, but I don't think that I'm there. I'd love to run under like 305 in Valencia.
Okay.
The last few marathons have been in like that 313,
Mm-hmm.
two 313s in a row. And I definitely think that like if Sydney had cooler weather, I think I could have been at 310, right around 310.
Mm.
So like I'd like to think that I can still run, I'd love to have like a 304, 302 sounds really nice. Again, that's ego. But like I'll
Might be a day.
probably, yeah, I mean it could be. It depends on the weather in Valencia. So we'll see, but I'd love to, in terms of lining up, I'm also learning about myself that I really need to ease into the race. And it's 26 miles, so there's plenty of time to do that. Um, but like generally I'm kind of lining up with like the 305, I think is
Okay.
where I'm gonna be.
Well, you've got some fast pros in the field in Valencia that you can maybe gain some inspiration from them when you're because do they start like 30 minutes before? Do you know?
I think it's kind of one big start.
One big start.
I'm
Okay.
not positive, but I think it's just kind of like more like kind of like Berlin, for example, where
Uh-huh.
they're like it's just a flood, like they open the gates and it just
Okay.
goes for a long
That's kind
time.
of fun.
I think that's how it goes in Valencia. I'm not positive.
Okay, question. I know for a while there you were doing some work with Runna and
Hmm.
using that as your coaching system.
Hmm.
What are you doing for this race?
I'm kind of making it up as I go for this time.
Okay.
I'm looking back at when I ran my last fast race, which was Tokyo, and so kind of like looking at what worked for me there. What do I like? What do I feel good doing? Um, and I spent like the last couple of years with a coach and then with Runna, try to explore like making my weaknesses my strengths. And then now I'm like, oh, maybe my strengths are my strengths. So I'm like doing a lot of the things that I like, the things that make me feel fit, the things that I think make me feel fit for a marathon. And so,
Mm.
so that's kind of what I'm going back to. And it's a lot more intuitive this time. I'm kind of
Mhm.
like, I'm on a 9-day cycle. So every third day is a
Ooh, I
workout.
love that.
Um, yeah. So there's just 2 easy days in between each session. And so it's just kind of intuitive. Like, what do I feel like? Here's generally the kind of mileage I want. Here's the 3 sessions that I want, or 2 sessions that I'll do this week, and all right, this is how much miles that'll be, and then fill in the rest.
So 2
And so,
sessions and a long run with
mhm,
either a session or easy long run miles.
yeah, mhm,
Okay. Yeah, with
mhm,
in that 9-day cycle. I love that.
yep, yeah. And so, like, I just don't recover that well on like a Monday, Wednesday kind of like
Yeah.
I couldn't do like Monday, Wednesday,
No.
Saturday
Ew,
like
no.
anymore. It just feels like a lot. I feel like it's one of those things where I could survive the workout, but I don't know if my body is taking it.
And, like,
And
you're
so, like,
not getting the most out of it at all if you're
yeah,
not.
I think that, like, at a
Yeah.
certain point, and I don't know if this is physiologically true. I'm not a I'm not a physiologist and I'm not a coach, but, like, I feel like there's a point where the workout can be hard enough or, like, easy enough that you can physically survive it, but
Yeah.
too hard that your body won't be able to do anything with it.
Mhm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's kinda I think of it kind of like, I don't know. I've explained it to Peter before. I think of it like, putting lacquer on, like, a wooden railing. Like, you
Mhm.
could try to put a bunch on there, but it's not gonna be the same as if you put on a coat, let it dry, put on another coat, let it dry. Instead, you'll have a runny,
Mm.
goopy mess, right? Or I think of it like cramming for a test. You know, you might be able to kind of cram all that in there for a little bit, but you're not remembering that stuff that you cram for. And so I feel like I needed a little bit more spacing out of workouts so that my body could recover. And then it did let me get bigger workout days too.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of been my approach. It worked well for me in Tokyo, and I'm kind of like, again, like playing to my strengths again as I'm getting ready for Valencia. And hopefully, like, I don't think it'll be a PB day, but if I could just feel fast,
Mhm.
that'd be that's. I mean, that's asking for a lot, but I guess that's quote unquote all I'm asking for.
Yeah, and this is what I've been thinking about, like, can you get the same satisfaction from that what you would consider an A day, even if it's 10 minutes off a PB, just where you are now? Like, can you feel that PB satisfaction from that?
I hope so. You
Yeah.
know, because, like, I mean, so this build is different because one, the temperatures are different, so I'm able to do more work, but I'm also able to do more work and it takes more time. And so, like,
Mhm.
my wife notices when I'm like very deep into marathon
Yes.
training, and my kids notice because my mood is not as patient as
You're
I normally might
tired.
be, you know? And so, like, those are expensive things to me, you know?
Mm.
And
Mhm.
so, like, I'm
Very.
spending a lot to run this race, and so, like, I want to get something for it, for what I've spent. And will a 3:06 make me feel like it was time well spent? I'm not sure. I ran a
Mhm.
3:13 in Sydney, and I felt like I executed well on the fitness that I had, and that felt good to feel like I ran a smart race. I didn't overextend myself, but I don't feel great about that time,
Mm. Mhm.
because I feel like I can run faster than that,
Yeah.
even though I do feel like I'm aging a little bit. And I know everyone can run fast in their old age and then hopefully many years of running ahead of me. But, like, no one's thinking that Kipchoge is going to have a PR next race,
No.
right? And so, like, at some point that you fall off the edge,
You do.
right? And I think that I've fallen off the edge, and that's okay. So, like, then it becomes this more like philosophical question of how do you still enjoy racing, or do you still enjoy racing? So we'll see, like, will I finish it, run like a 3:08 and feel like I felt good, but I'd like to try more, like, will I feel that?
Yeah.
Or let's say I run a 3:02, am I like, I'm good on that for now, and now I'm fun running for the rest of my, like,
Yeah.
I don't know where that takes me, but that's kind of the big point of, like, going to Valencia, kind of doing this big thing where I'm going to a place where people go to run fast, and
Yeah.
I'll be like middle towards back of the pack, I feel like, at
Yeah,
3:05
it's such a
in
fast,
Valencia.
fast race. Yeah.
And so, like, like, what, let's go explore some of those ideas and thoughts. It's part of my, I guess aging is the theme on this real life podcast for me now. I'm gonna talk
Yeah.
about how old I was last time and not talk about how old I am this time.
But I always think about it would be an interesting like series of conversations to talk to people who are still grinding and like have serious goals that
Mhm.
are not related to any sort of PB because they have kind of like crossed over that barrier, whatever it is. And people can say age is just a number all they want, but like you do age. Your body does age. And
Yeah.
there is a point where you're not going to be able to run what you used to run. So, and just things change and you have to do different things to make it work. And, so yeah, I always think it's really interesting. There's a woman I follow on Instagram. I don't even know how I'm connected with her. Maybe maybe from my podcast, but um, she was sharing last night on her stories. Her mom was doing a full Ironman for her 70th birthday.
Whoa.
And I was so invested in these stories. Like she would update and then like nothing would come up for a little bit. And I'm like, where's she at? Is she at mile 16? Is she at mile 20? Like my heart was so invested in this like 70-year-old woman like chasing this dream. And I'm sure that she's run many marathons and done many things that were so much faster. But yeah, I mean, there's probably something to someone's like mental and physical longevity when they have goals, regardless, like physical goals like this, regardless of what the time may be.
Yeah, and I think I just finished reading Nick Thompson's book, and he kind of goes over his running journey. It's a running book, of course, but he talks about like, you may lose some of that edge, but you gain like insight on how to train and how to
Mm.
execute on the races. And I'm hoping that maybe some of my, wily wisdom will make up for a little bit of that kind of like edge that I might have lost, to the extent that I had edge. But that's what I'm hoping, that I can, I'm hoping that I can better hear my body, which
Yeah.
I don't always do well especially in races. The shorter the races, the less I can hear what my
Yes.
body is saying. It's everything screaming.
Uh,
But I'm hoping that in the marathon in Valencia that I'll be able to like be like, I might be going a little bit fast here, but my body says that's okay. And I could do
yes.
that for maybe the next 5, 6 minutes. And then
Yeah.
maybe I need to like chill out. And it wasn't a mistake to go. That was just a time to go. And this is the time to not go. So I'm hoping to be able to hear what are those kind of like ebbs and flows and be able to ride them a little bit. I'm also an alternative hoping that like there's just like 20 dudes also running like between 305 to 3 hour pace, and I'll just be in the middle, you know.
Yeah.
But I also just don't run in groups very regularly.
Yeah.
And so like sometimes for me running in a group is alluring because it's like, oh, just turn your brain off and like
Yeah.
focus on the people in front of you. It's kind of like cruise control, just maintain distance. Other times it's like there's a lot of feet around me. I don't know what's happening, and so like that to me sometimes is a little bit distracting in a not great way. So I don't know, I'll have to feel it out and just see how it goes.
I always felt like in my later marathons, that I was able to like not freak out about the pain as much towards the end.
Mm.
Like if at mile 18, 19, when it's inevitably like I have so far to go and it's already hurting, like just the fact that I'd been there so many times knowing like this is going to be over. And actually, and I don't know if it's an age thing or like an experience thing or birthing children thing or whatever kind of marathons I've been through, it's like this is so short, actually. Like, we know it's long. Running hard for 3 hours is a long time, but like, this is actually so short in the grand scheme of things, and I can endure this. So maybe that'll help too, Mike.
Maybe. I
Minus the
mean,
childbirth.
yeah, I don't have that experience to draw upon, but I think about it. It's like part of me is like I've done like a bunch of 20-mile runs already in this block, and so I have that to lean on in terms of like confidence. But like, we talked about this in the summer when I was like afraid to run some 5Ks. Like
Mm.
the last couple of times I tried to run a fast marathon, like a fast marathon, I blew up really hard.
Hmm.
And so like I'm like like I feel like there's still a scab there where I'm like I'm worried that like inevitably there'll be that moment where it feels too hard too early. And I think
Yep.
I know my brain is going to freak out at that first time. And I still need to figure out like, okay, is this like London where I should have listened? Or is this like Sydney where maybe I shouldn't have listened? So like that,
Mm.
I just don't, I don't really know, but there's only one way to find out,
There's only
and
one way. And you're going to get to the
so
finish line either
yeah, so
way.
it's exciting. Like it's not great when your running is very public to have
Yeah.
a race that has a huge like 15-minute positive split because you've
It's
maybe
kind
made a
yeah.
mistake early. It's never
Yeah.
fun to have a 15-minute positive split, but when your running is very public, it
It's like
really
it's an added
stings.
pressure for sure.
Yeah. But I mean, I feel like I don't know. I don't think there's a lot of benefit to me running like a 309, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
So I'm like, all right, well, let's try to hang on to like that 305, 306, and
You see
maybe
my
we get to
shirt?
302. Risk it. Exactly. And so like I'm going to Valencia with the idea that I would like to take some risks, but I also don't want to be like London was tough for me. And I was just like, let's just mantra our way through all of this. And I was like, no, it
That's
wasn't
not
a
gonna get
mantra
me there.
issue. It wasn't a motivational issue, and so
At least you tried
uh,
that though.
I did. I realized how far it can or can't take me.
Oh, I think it's gonna be awesome. I think that you're gonna listen to your body, you're gonna be intuitive, and you're gonna get a little bit risky.
Yeah, I think so.
I do
Yeah.
hear what you're saying about that added layer of your running being public because at the end of the day, we all know that nobody cares.
Yeah.
But there is, whether you want it there or not, there is that like thing on your shoulder that's like they're all watching. They're there, whether you know what
Yeah.
I mean?
Yeah.
Um,
For
yeah.
me, how it's a little bit different than that though is that like, and maybe I'm making it too big of a deal, but I feel like I don't want to let people down. I feel like
Yeah. Of course
I've
that's how
got
you feel,
I'm
Mike.
I'm the old guy. I'm like I'm
Yeah.
the old guy. Give it one more chance. I feel
Mm,
like there's a little bit of lethal weapon. Like we're not too old for
mhm.
this kind of going
Mhm.
on. And I don't want someone that's like, yeah, I've been watching this. I'm in my
Yep.
40s as well, and it's been inspiring. I don't want them to at the end of it all see like that guy tried hard, and guess
Yeah.
what? He was old. Like so that I don't, like that's a very big. I mean, that's what makes the story, I guess, worth following, and that's what
Okay.
makes it
Yeah.
inspiring is because you're trying because that truth is potentially there. You know.
Huh.
But it
Yeah.
also, that's what makes it's a little bit more than like I don't want people to see me not do well. I've seen people have seen me not do well a ton of times. I'm good with that. It's like I think of it as there's a lot of people for I think about this for shoes a lot. There's a lot of people for like they got like a bad pair of shoes
Mm.
and then what could have been like a lifelong enjoyment of running just ended too early because they didn't like that pair of shoes. They didn't get the right one, you know?
Right.
And I'm worried, and I'm making maybe too big a deal of me on this, but like I'm worried
No.
that someone's like, I'm into this. This is cool. There's inspiring people that are my age, trying hard things, and look what happened. Everyone saw that guy messed up, and so like I don't want them to be like, oh, maybe I won't try so hard, and maybe I'll chill out this winter, and maybe I'll start running again in the spring, maybe. Whereas maybe that person would have kept running all winter long and been like, this is cool to follow along. I want to be like that too. So that's more my concern with the public part of my running. Is that like I hate to be the reason why someone's like, see, running
It didn't
stinks.
matter.
You
Yeah.
know?
But I think that regardless of what time is run, this is so corny and cliche, but there's like always a story to come out of it, right? Like there's always a lesson in whatever the outcome ends up being. So, but I hear that when you said that about the
Yeah.
shoes, it made me think of, or they showed up to the wrong running group that felt
Oh yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
exclusive, or they, you know, chose a marathon where they just happened to have a really bad interaction with a certain volunteer or race director. And it's like, I mean, that's just why we can't, make decisions based on like one interaction or one scenario we put ourselves in. But it certainly makes it hard, especially if you're trying something new and you're like nervous to start, you know?
But that makes me feel better because that makes me feel like, well, it wouldn't be completely my fault. You know, there's lots
No.
of like things that like are affecting people.
Listen,
So not that I thought
Mike,
it would be all my fault, but if someone quit
but we
running, but
can
yeah.
direct those people to Maria Lindbergh, to Kristen Daly. And I'm naming women in their 40s that we just interviewed on Road to the Trials that qualified for the Olympic trials. So there are plenty of those stories that we can be like, hey, this didn't work out
Sometimes
this
it works
time.
out.
Yeah, sometimes it works out. But we are not speaking that. We are
Yeah.
not speaking
Yeah.
that it's not going to work out.
Yeah.
We're
Yeah.
excited to see what's going to happen.
Yeah. I'm going there with a lot of like, well, just to quote another Road to the Trials interviewee, I have a lot of curiosity going into the race. You weren't at the interview, but when Peter interviewed Makenna Myler,
Oh,
she mentioned
McKenna.
being curious about racing. many times, which I really liked that phrase as well.
Yeah, I was sad to miss that interview. I was actually going to be on the interview with him, and I set up that interview, but we had to record late at night because she's with home with her kids, I think, during the day, and she needed to wait for her husband to get home. And her kids are young.
Mhm.
So we were doing 8 p.m. Eastern time, and I was like, I got it. I can handle that. And my house was just mayhem. And my husband was still
Mhm.
working, and I was like, I just can't, you guys. I cannot
Yeah.
get on this call. I really wanted to though, because I love her energy. I love how she approaches running. Like,
Yeah.
to me, it's like, oh, there are some like pro runners that are a little bit chaotic in their training, and like, and I mean, to be fair, if she's home with her kids a lot, she kind of has to be with two little ones at home.
Yeah.
So yeah, I know it was a good interview though.
Yeah, but it kind of like with her and with one interview that you did, you interviewed Annie. I feel like both McKenna and Annie in different ways, but I feel like both of them feel wiser than their years
Oh, for
in terms
sure.
of the way they approach running. And I wanted to get your sense on that, having just interviewed Annie. I think again, you've interviewed her like 3 times.
Yeah,
Is it now? Yeah.
I think that might have been my second time interviewing
Okay.
Annie, and I think I've
Okay.
interviewed Makenna twice.
Yeah.
Yeah, Annie has this really like calm demeanor and like almost like well thought out way that she not only presents herself in conversation, but like I think the way she trains and chooses races, and um we need Dakota Lindworm on here because, or Dakota Popane on here because, when you say something about someone and they're like, oh, let me get my husband on this call or my best
Mhm.
friend on this call, and they'll tell you what it's really like. Um, but yeah, I see in Annie this like quiet hunger almost to just go smash it. Like, she was really disappointed with her Olympic trials race where she placed 10th. And I mean, to me, that says a lot because placing 10th in that field is still really good.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
Obviously, these women are trying to make the podium, so they might not feel that way necessarily. But yeah, and I think her performance in New York placing fifth, she just like, you don't count Annie Frisbie out. Like, she's on the uh starting line, and she's fighting for the top no matter what. And even like we talked about this in our conversation when she um passed Safan Hassan, like passing an Olympic gold medalist and a 2:11 or 2:12 or whatever Safan's PR is, like, that's going to take some like confidence, tenacity, and yeah, I'm really just excited to see what is she's going to do next, because she's just going to keep pumping them out, I think.
Yeah, I thought that was an amazing part of the interview that you had with her because I was just like, that's something that I also imagine. I was like, what is going through your mind where you're like, at some point, you got to be like, what does Stefan know that I don't know? I should
Yeah.
probably wait here. Right.
Yes.
But she's also has experience on the course and she knows herself. And she was like, no, not only do I have to go, I have to make a move, which is to like, I need to pass with authority so that she doesn't think that she can latch on and come along with me. And then she did. And I was like, that's incredible. But like something else that she said during the interview is something that I'll carry with me to Valencia. And again, to make it about me again, but something that I'll carry into Valencia is like when she talked about that 10th place finish, she talked about how she was like, well, I wish I hadn't given up on myself so early on that race. And I wish I
Mm.
would have hung in on it longer.
She did say that.
And that I heard loud and clear. I mean, there's sometimes I zone out when I'm listening to podcasts because I listen to them on the run, but I heard that loud and clear, and I was like, all right. I was just talking about like, I'm gonna panic when the moment it gets hard too early, but I'm gonna have to remember that like, all right, you have to not give up on yourself too soon, you know. And so
Hmm.
that's why I always want to follow. That was a great interview.
Thank you.
And talk
Yeah,
about that.
that's an interesting point to bring up too, because I always like kind of want to pose this question to pros, like, and usually they say, I finish my marathons with nothing left. Like, why would I even, like, of course I finish with nothing left. I can't remember who I recently interviewed who was like, I always finish like that. Maybe it was Natasha Rotters, but anyway, um, I thought it was interesting that to hear someone like Annie say that because you think of these people as like most professional of all professionals. Like they're not going to do that. They don't give up. And not that she gave up at the trials, but it sounds like she felt like maybe there was more there. And so, yeah, I mean that's an interesting conversation in itself. How do we know when and if there's more there? And I go back to Indy Monumental with everybody vomiting at that finish line. Cuz I mean it's just like the most wild thing. I was emceeing Richmond this weekend and like I think I saw one person throw up, one.
Okay.
But it's like who is actually taking it to the limit? And there's nothing wrong if you don't like I mean, at the end of Richmond, there were some men walking out past this finish chute and I was like, they look so unwell. Like they look so physically sick. Why are we doing this to ourselves? But it's just the question of like what does it mean to actually push it to your fullest limit and is that smart, safe, healthy? Does it feel good? Who's actually doing it? I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. When you asked her that question, I was like, I think finishing giving everything that you could have on the day will always feel like I probably could have given a little bit more.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of feel like that too. But
I
do
feel
the
like
pros
if you
feel like
gave,
that?
you either gave too much and you know it, but if you give the exact right amount, your brain will be like, there's probably a little bit more there,
A little
you
bit
know?
more?
Yeah. So that's kind of that's how I approach it. And so I feel like when everyone's like, I ran a PB and I felt like I could have done so much better. I'm like, oh no. You ran 100% of your ability
Yeah,
that day.
soak
That's
that
what
up.
that feels like.
Here we have someone that just joined the call that can answer this question for us. Peter Bromka has joined late to the party. And Peter, we were just talking about how like what does it actually mean to like finish with nothing left at all? And I think you've probably done that. I think when you were 1 second off your OTQ, like you could probably say that's what it feels like.
Yeah, you give it all. It's okay. You like, I think we like to delude ourselves like, no. I think I'm just heard Mike say this, like on the best days, you always think like, I had so much more to give. And you're like, really, friend? Where was
Did
it?
you?
Did you? I mean, it's similar to, I think that's actually connected to that phrase. People are always like, I just do it to see how good I can be. I just want to see. And the more people have said that over the years, I'm more like, do you mean like, I mean, you just mean a little faster, right? Like, like
Mm.
I get that it's, because yeah, when I ran some of my best times, they all ended up in the similar zone.
Yeah, Peter. So I'm glad you're here. I was talking with Lindsey earlier because we were talking about we were talking a lot about me, which is one of my favorite subjects.
Great.
But we were talking about like Valencia and how I have some concerns. It's the first like fast attempt in a long time, and the last fast attempt it blew up in my face pretty bad. But I just listened to Lindsey's interview with Annie Frisbie and your interview with Makenna Myler, and I was thinking like I took a lot away from each of those, even though I've spoken with each of those athletes myself. But I feel like you both each got some new insights from them. And the one thing I said to Lindsey was I feel like Annie seems like a runner who's very wise for her years. And I felt like the same could easily be said for McKenna. I wanted to get your take on that.
Yeah. I mean, I think this is an important conversation to be having because I think we paint these pictures that like these pro athletes have perfect buildups and they set themselves up, just for like, well, that's what we saw is the athlete that was fittest and that, checked all the boxes and set them all up. If you haven't gotten a chance to listen to my conversation with Makenna Myler, like she is a self-described type B athlete, type B personality, which might also be, it plays well with the fact that she's a mother of two. She's like been poking fun at this. She's like, did a workout, then into recovery. Nope. Going to play with my kids. And so she has experienced such like ups and downs in her journey, including long COVID and coming back from that, yeah, I think her willingness to show up and it's, again, in talking about these things, I hesitate to finish the sentences because they can kind of end up in a cliche. But it like the cliche
yeah.
here would be like to go in with a playful attitude of, making the most of it and not holding too closely to single splits, but, trying to, see it as an adventure that you're prepared for, but not like a science experiment where you know, every single interval has to be exactly so, or else the whole thing is for naught.
Yeah, I mean, I think the phrase that she used multiple times that really caught my ear was that she was always coming in curious. And I feel like that's the approach that I want to take going into Valencia, and I really appreciated that about hers. But and then like the way that she talks about her running, and I've had many conversations with her about her running too, and the impression I always get is like I feel like type B runner is like it's almost kind of a weird way to describe her approach to running, because she's very intentional and very thoughtful about her training and racing. And type B runner kind of makes it feel like a little bit more like happy-go-lucky. Right? And so like I mean maybe I just don't know what type B runner means, but like so I just feel like she might not be like, it seems like maybe she's not into like stats and splits. But she's very thoughtful and very like introspective about the win.
I almost got the sense, again, I guess I've only seen her really run marathons, maybe a few miles on her Instagram. But she seems athletic. She has a playful approach, like as though we were describing a soccer game or a basketball game. Like she's out there, playing the sport, not just spending too much time, executing in her own head. I think running can, again, we fall into the fallacy that like we're in control of all the variables because it's just like us versus talking to those athletes feels more like, an interview. I see any number of reels with basketball players and, they are like preparing for all sorts of outcomes, and trying to match the moment with their athletic ability as opposed to, it can get really, flat marathons are intimidating because they can get like, can feel like, well, I'm in control of the whole thing. Why not? Just do it all well and I'll be satisfied. And you're like, wow. We see a lot of blowups in Chicago because people go like, well, what if I just went out at, PR pace or big PR pace? And, we particularly see that around the big thresholds. So it's like the mass of humanity going down the road at 3-hour pace is like, I'll just execute 26 splits at exactly this pace and it'll all work out well. And then you're like, okay, I spend a lot of time with my athletes talking about the second half of races, talking about that third 10K, like where are we going to go mentally and physically? How are we going to be prepared for that? And if you get excited for, to push the pace a little bit in that first or second 10K, like really save it, save it. And we've been hearing this from a couple of different people on the road to the trials. The first time you think about speeding up, don't. The second time you think, don't. But yeah, no, if anything, Makenna comes off like, again, you could challenge her to any type of sport and she'd be like, sure, I'll meet you there, like see you on the court. So I'm happy that she's a marathoner.
For sure.
Yeah.
Peter, I saw that you've been getting more running in. I saw
yes.
On your Strava, I saw you did a run with the boys for the first time in a long time.
I appreciated you keeping me humble. You're like, were you able to stay with the boys? And I'm like,
I think my question was, did you get dropped or no?
Yeah, did you get dropped?
So did you get dropped or how was the run?
It was more the sensation that I came away with. I saw your question on Strava and thought, I felt most of that run. I was very excited to be there, and I felt a lot of it in my upper chest / throat region because I was just breathing hard while trying to make conversation, So definitely, I've just gotten back to running with friends, which is so exhilarating. And then I pair it with runs where I'm just trying to challenge myself to run as slowly as possible. Like, this has been going, I feel like any trend you see, then you see it everywhere. But you're seeing all these reels that people are taking the Strava stats from, pro runners, people who win the marathon majors, and then they're like, look, this is a guy running twice his marathon pace, out on his easy day. And I find myself in that position of like trying to relearn that sensation of like, so yeah, I can push it. on the days where I push it, but I really have to respect the recovery on those other days. But yeah, that was super fun. I think fall is my favorite season to train in, and so I feel thankful. I missed 3 seasons, almost all 3 seasons, but
Yeah.
I'm back for fall, which is wonderful. I mean, you've run CIM, you've done the like fall lead up to a marathon. It just feels like the best. I don't know.
I really enjoy it. I think that it depends on in the Midwest if we start to get a little bit of early fall, early enough for it to really line up well. And we've had a pretty decent fall here. I mean, I'll be racing Valencia is I think the same weekend as
Mhm.
CIM this year. And so like the weather here has been really good for running, especially compared. I feel like we had an unusually long and hot summer.
Yeah.
Um, and then when it turned to fall, it turned over quick.
Okay.
We even had snow, like last week, but which is not unusual. But
Yeah.
um, we've had like a very distinct fall, which we don't always have,
Hmm.
which has been really nice for running. Really good for the half tight long sleeve look, which I
Yes.
really like. But it's that season is very short at the Midwest. We get like a couple weeks in the fall, a couple weeks in the spring. It's been a little bit
Yeah.
longer than usual this year, so it's been nice.
Oh.
So I hope that means that CIM is very exciting this year,
Oh.
because I think for a lot of the country, the weather has been pretty good
Yeah.
these last like month and a half, 2 months.
And maybe it's just that I'm interviewing so many athletes right now, but I feel this collective uh, hopeful spirit leading into
Mm.
these final races where um, I always I was contrasting it a little bit with, I'm tapped into the OTQ window, which was the last go around. They had moved that window, women's time down by a bunch of minutes, and I think there was just a lot of nervousness. I
Mm.
would be like, "Hey, how you feeling?" And people would just tension,
Yeah, yeah,
just fear, and that can trickle down to like the whole. I'm sure it's not directly applicable to everyone, but yeah, I feel like a lot of top runners are excited to go to CIM and either take a shot, or some of them have hit it and are going for more, and that sort of infectious positivity trickles down to the masses who are like, I've been warning my friends who are running CIM. I'm like, remember, it used to be that you just get these big packs of hopefuls around the big thresholds, like 245, 250, 255, 3 hours. And now, I mean, you've made these videos. I've sent the links out to people. It's just like this stream of humanity. And I think, well, that has got to be a positive if you're prepared for it, but I think it could be overwhelming for some people. Like, where's my 245 pack? And you're like, hey, man, people are welcome to run 246 and 244, as packs
hmm
of people.
hmm
So there are some designated pacers for different uh, pace trains, but that's a different thing that's emerging is more and more people. It's just like, I feel like the fandom is filling in the gaps, and we see
yeah,
it
yeah.
at all
Peter,
these
what do you
races.
what do you think is the benefit for like a runner who has hit the OTQ already to run try to run another fast one now, right? Like, why you just mentioned that, like, are there people
Yeah.
doing that? What is it just like I want to keep chopping and or what's the thought process there, do you think?
My sense is that this has become almost a common theme at the end of our conversations, um, saying, "Oh, what's next for you?" And they say, "Oh, we'll see. CIM in a month." And you're like, "Whoa, wait a
Yeah.
second, that hasn't even come up." My sense is it's like anything where I've talked to friends who broke 3 hours early in a fall and then say like, "Oh, but I really want to go to CIM and just run free, just
Mhm.
run without the
Yeah.
nerves, just
Yeah.
maybe if I'm feeling good, like surge a little bit and not think, oh no, I'm playing anxiously." So feel that sense of like playing with house money.
Okay.
I had an athlete break 3 at Tokyo a year or two ago. And his splits were just so steady. You could tell every time he maybe felt good, he was just like, don't mess it up, don't mess it up, don't mess it up.
Yeah. Yeah.
And he shattered that barrier, and then he has had some fun, in a good and a bad way. Like it really, those thresholds drive people. My sense for the OTQers, if you're hitting the OTQ with 2 years to go, like you're a very strong athlete. So we're
Yeah.
talking to
Yeah.
people who there's no way we don't let them like beat around the bush. Like, well, I'm just trying hard. You're like, no, you're executing at a high level. And so then you hear a lot of people call out like, oh, I want to race. Some of them want to race for some money at
Okay.
California
Yeah.
International, the U.S. champs. Some of them want to start chipping away at that next threshold. Like women, we're going to see more and more women going for sub 230. And I don't know, maybe
Exciting.
they make it a little ways. I don't,
Mhm.
you might like this. I told one woman, I'm like, you definitely have a pack of men you can slip in behind
Yeah.
because there's so many men who are like maybe in 234 shape and they're like, I'm going for it today. And I'm like, just
Mhm.
tuck in, let them break the wind and, uh, you know, aerodynamic for at least, because I bet
A little
after
while, yeah.
14, yeah, they'll fade. Don't you feel like it's true where I said this on multiple podcasts, like at certain paces, it just feels like the women coming by just have it, they're more composed. The men can kind of like, they're wobbling and like they're drooling on the side, down their shoulder. And like the women are like scooting by, like still their form is together, even in the later miles. And they're going the same pace, but like, it's just an impressive look.
I just think that that's because women have it more figured out than guys do a lot of the time.
Hmm.
And so that's what I feel like a lot of times we're so inclined to like, we need to muscle through
Yes.
this, where the answer is keep your cool, stay the course, you're doing fine. And
Yeah.
so like I
But
think
also
that's
like,
there's difference in composure in terms of what do you do when it gets hard. My
mm,
reaction is to like scream it out,
yeah.
but that's not usually it was not always the right answer.
But I signed on, apologies for being late. I signed on right as you were talking about this sense that I'm here for racing your hardest, but there's maybe this lingering sense from people that they just have to give it absolutely their all,
Mm,
particularly male marathoners. And this
yeah.
sets them up for some pretty epic fades when they're like, you know, um, I don't know, as though we would make fun of anyone for PRing and having a good day and just, it's not like we're going to rib them and be like, oh, come on, man, you could still stand after the line. Like, there's,
What's interesting is like there's like a cultural component to that too.
mm,
And so like I happen to have spent a lot of time in Japan this year
yeah,
watching races. And that's a culture where like if you watch any Ekiden before or if you watch any of the Japanese racers at world championships or in their marathons, it's almost like the fans demand that they kind of
mm-hmm,
collapse at the finish line. That shows that you cared enough to
yeah,
run hard, especially in like
honoring
a
the
team
sport.
sport like Ekiden where it's a relay.
Oh,
It's like that's how you prove that like you didn't hold back for your team. You gave everything. Is like you come across the line, face like contorted and about to keel over.
that's
Of
true.
course, you do have to also be strong enough to bow at the finish
Yes.
line because that's
Oh,
what you do.
yes.
But
Amazing.
like then collapse into the wheelchair. Like so
Yeah.
there's like a cultural component to that too. Not to say that they're making it up, but
No,
like
it's
they're
just,
like and when I was saying like there may be a gender role component to it where men may feel like they need to respond a different way. And I just think it's all very peculiar in terms of like what does giving your all look like?
yeah, the valor. I just want to make sure people are shooting for big goals, but not then adopting like a tough guy mindset of like, if I'm going to shoot
Yeah.
for 250, I should shoot for 245. And you're like, no, no, no.
Yeah,
There's
yeah,
plenty of
250 is
toughness.
pretty good.
Yeah, yeah. 26 miles will serve you quite well. You will find enough challenge out there on the road. And there's not, yeah, I don't know. I think people can kind of get stuck in a mental loop of ramping up. I always say that marathon pace needs to be that sensation of like a lie you just might be able to get away with, not like a full
Mhm.
out lie. You're like,
Okay. I
I don't
like
know. I
that.
could pretend I'm a doctor on this
Okay.
at this dinner
Yeah.
party, but like,
Mhm,
no, it's
mhm.
going to fall apart. I should pick something else. I want people to go in with paces that that they've found some comfort at during training, some flow. Oh man, I'm so excited to hear about Valencia when you get back. I imagine there's a lot of people who are members of Kofuzi Run Club who are excited to meet you out there.
I think so. I'm a little bit nervous about it because I haven't like scheduled like a group run, and Valencia is not a place that I've been to
Yeah.
before, and I'm not always in Europe for racing, and so like when that happens, I always like to make sure that there's some time for like, well, maybe this is the only travel race that this person will have,
Yeah.
to be able to meet up. But it's gonna probably be very like last minute and informal, but hopefully at least it's some way to kind of meet up with a handful. I don't think it'll be a ton of people.
Okay.
But a
Yeah.
handful of people maybe we'll do a little bit of jogging
Yeah.
to shake some nerves.
I'm going to TRE and I keep picturing that you'll be there, even though you've told me you won't be there. Like, I'm just keep imagining my different days, and I'm like, and then I'll meet up with Mike, I'm sure. Wait a second.
Yeah, I am gonna go. I got a last minute change, an
Okay.
offer I couldn't refuse, so I'll be
Oh,
going with a
wonderful.
brand down there. I don't know exactly what my schedule is yet, though.
Okay.
I'm still gonna try to like. I'm not doing the full TRE blitz,
Yeah.
experience.
Yeah. How do we get you to
So,
Spain? How does the running world get you from Texas to Spain?
well, now I won't be getting until Friday, which I'm a little bit nervous about. Which is also compiling into my nerves about like trying to schedule like a group run. So like
Mm-hmm.
I'm starting to get a little bit nerves about it, but I mean, this is my job, this is work
Yeah.
that I couldn't turn down. So, it's
Okay.
part of the balancing it all.
Yeah.
I like to think of it as like, hey, you know what? Even pro athletes have media obligations and other obligations before, um, even a big race. So like,
Absolutely. Yeah.
it's something that runners can deal with,
Channel that 1970s energy where like the first road pros, they used to like just travel around and they'd hit like
Yeah.
a
Like
10K.
sleep in their cars. Yeah.
Yeah. So they're like, and then I got up and we raced again. And you're like,
Yeah.
that would
Well,
just,
and it's like, well, and then I was supposed to race that night, but my car got towed because I parked on the course.
yeah, just so much chaos.
But
But
I think of it as like, if Fiona O'Keefe can go plogging in New York and then come in fourth place, then I can do a media event 5 days before Valencia.
I don't know. I don't participate in the elite athlete news conference, but news conferences and technical meetings seem like real obligations that those athletes fulfill that I could
That
imagine
seems
walking.
like the most draining and most boring thing ever.
So on Road to the Trials, we have we're partnering with CIM, and so we have a course preview coming out that's a little like the one you and I did on Patreon years ago, but like we had a lot of fun a couple of years ago. This I was saying, Brendan Gregg, who's the course marshal, and as a former winner and a pro athlete, I got to kind of poke fun at those technical meetings, and he's like, man, it's the hardest energy to to contain. Like it just, I mean, you could just, I thought about bringing in like a popper, just light off some like some big noise that would startle people, because they're just so jittery and like on edge, and you're like, come on guys, we're all going to run a race tomorrow. It'll be okay. So I think finding ways to enjoy that journey and just be appreciative for that, what the running world brings to you will be good. And I look forward to seeing you in Texas. Excellent. Well, maybe from afar. I bet you'll be busy.
I don't know exactly what my schedule is.
Yeah, no commitments.
I'll let you know.
Awesome.
All right. Well, I think that's a good place to end it for today.
Yeah.
Thanks everybody for tuning in. Thanks Peter and Lindsey and all our relay friends. Hope you enjoy it. We'll see you guys next time.
See you next week.